Oh my gosh. How are you, Carolina? So good to see you. Thanks for joining me on Soulful IVF.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to share space with you.
Yes, you and I both have such a love for this topic. Reiki.
I
You're a
love Reiki so
Reiki
much.
womb healer. Yeah, me too. And when you reached out to me, we realized quickly that we had so much in common.
Same birthday.
Same birthday. Shout out to May
Yes.
6th.
What? What?
And you're based in Omaha, Nebraska, where I went to school. I went to Creighton there, which when you told me that, I was like, what? You're in Omaha,
Yeah,
you're a Midwesterner.
I love
Um,
Omaha.
yeah, and we're both like in the woo. We both really keeping this light and keeping this real.
Shoulder deep.
And so there may be some language. I know when I first connected with you, it was like, whew, some language in the best way, like
Oh,
explicits. So that's what I
I
mean.
I can I can keep it, PG
we're
rated if you want
we're
me
woo,
to.
but we're real. Let's just say that.
I curse like a sailor. I mean, I don't drink. I've never done drugs, so it's like my one thing, and it brings me
Yeah.
a lot of joy.
Yeah. Just a heads up to everyone listening. So welcome. Oh my gosh. So I would love to know, Reiki, and you also are a medium, a psychic medium. There's so
Mhm.
many things that I've discovered about you. When did you realize? Let's start with the mediumship. Did you realize you had a gift at a young age in that area, or
No,
was okay?
no. I saw
Okay.
ghosts really young.
Yeah.
I can remember seeing my first ghost. I was like 4 or 5. We lived on a
Oh,
what used to be a really old farm, and we had a barn, and I saw this like ghostly figure. And then I saw her again in our kitchen and in our trailer. And then I saw her sitting on our couch. There was like three distinct memories I have of her. And
at
when I
4 years old.
described, hmm
Oh my gosh.
and I remember talking to my mom about it, and she's like, that was the lady who owned the farm before my aunt bought it.
Oh my
That was the
God.
original lady. And they had lived there for generations before. And because she was like this really frail looking, small, ghostly white. It was like literally white. And then she glowed. And like she just felt like super sweet. I didn't feel fear. It would make me gasp because it would always be like really late or in the evening, like and when I was always by myself.
Okay.
Um, and my mom has always said that she can talk she's lost a lot of loved ones, and she says so and so is with me or I can feel them. And so like my mom has always said those kind of things, but
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't have any developed skills of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I became a medium, because my dad passed away in 2014, and he was my person, and I felt really unsafe in the world after he died. And I started to question what is real, what is not, why does it have to be this way? Death is a very bizarre experience once
Mm-hmm.
you lose a parent.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, this can't be true. This blows. This really sucks. Like losing him. And I finally got him because most of my life he had been absent. He was an absent parent. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
live with him until age 15. So and it was a really hard relationship. He was like the hardest person to love. There was a lot of rules. It was Latin. So there was a lot of like control. And in Spanish, they say machisto. So there's like this alpha dominant controlling aspect, his way or the highway type of deal, and always just trying to conform, but always yearning for like his attention.
Mm-hmm.
So when he died, I was like, well, how can I talk to him now? And I didn't want to accept, like, it was just so bizarre. Like he was a person that sent me cards and called, and then all of a sudden no more. Like he didn't exist. Like signing for his like writing the check for his cremation, going to Metro PCS to shut off his phone. Like it was so weird. They're like, oh, why don't you no longer want this line? I'm like, well, he's dead. It's just so final. But I felt like on a soul level, I've always felt more like why? Because I'm a faith-based girl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I deeply believe in things larger than me, not
Yeah.
just God, but I believe in Mother Earth, all the things.
Yeah.
Why is the essence of like what makes us laugh and like the things that people are attracted to and may not even like about you, that's your soul, right? Like the essence of who you are. Like, do you like Gouda cheese, or do you like heaven heart?
Mm.
And do you like the things that are like unique about you? How can you
Hmm.
just cease to exist? So I sought out to be a medium. I sought out to learn mediumships to talk to my dad specifically. I
Okay.
started taking classes with this local lady, and that started my spiritual journey. That was my spiritual awakening. And eventually, with every Reiki attunement, my mediumship got more and more accurate. And I started practicing with just like, hey, we started with spirit guides. And then started with, as I worked with more fertility, I was like, there's a baby here. There is a baby here. Or if they were pregnant, I would get messages from the womb. So then it became, oh, I'm getting more spirit babies messages,
Mm.
and I'm feeling more of them than I am the spirit guides.
Wow. Yeah, you made a comment to me when we talked about something about grieving. Was it professional griever? What did you share with
I'm a
me?
professional griever. Yeah, I
Professional.
feel like I'm a professional in grief. My
And
dad,
without that loss, right? Like you and I both know the loss of a parent.
right? My
The change.
dad died April 6th of
Okay.
2014. His dad died April 9th.
Wow.
And then 1 year later, the same week, my horse died. So like, and then we got married in December of 2014. So like two deaths, get engaged, married, and then the next April, just a few months after I get married, our horse dies. And she was like the horse. I don't ride anymore. I had another horse, but like when I thought about getting another horse, I'm like, I just don't want another one because it's not her.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, there was a lot of grief. And then like through my life, I've watched my abuela die. I've watched my mom's dad die. Like I was just the person they
Mm.
sent because either they weren't available or they were not. I found my parents are not emotionally evolved, or
Mm.
I don't want to say emotionally immature, but
Yeah.
probably.
Hmm.
Um, they didn't like funerals, they don't like death, and they didn't like church. So like, we'll send you instead because you're
Oh,
nice.
you're
And
calling, right?
as a young child, like I remember, gosh, I must have been 17 when my grandpa died, and I sat there every day. And he died from cancer. And then when my abuela was dying, um, I had been visiting, and I stayed with her for 3 weeks,
Mm.
and she died of colon cancer. My dad died of colon cancer.
Mm.
And when my dad died, I was the one changing,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
diapers
Yeah.
in the, hospice, because, there wasn't, I mean, we weren't in the best part of Miami, so it wasn't it wasn't easy. But like, so yeah, I feel
Mm.
like a lot, I've watched a lot of people die. So yeah, I'm not unfamiliar with grief.
Mm. I can so relate. And how do you feel like it has supported you in the work that you do now, helping women conceive who want to conceive, and with you wanting to become pregnant? I mean, can you
Mhm.
kind of guide us through your mothering journey and how
So
that all
I
came to be?
Okay. So with grief, I
Yeah.
find that by trade for most of my life, I had a 17-year corporate career. I
Mm.
was in quality systems, and I did auditing, and I was in pharmaceutical manufacturing. So have used both sides of my brain. It's very analytical, very, lean Six Sigma, like what is
Mm.
like very methodical,
Yeah.
technical writing, all of the things. So
Mm.
for me was that's kind of never left me, meaning like what is the best, most strategic, efficient way to do anything? Literally, my mind thinks about when I'm going from downstairs to upstairs and I have to bring multiple things, like how is the most efficient way to do that, and all the things along the way. So
Oh,
it's never left me. So when I think about healing and grief, I
yeah.
kind of apply the same principles. With grief is okay, understanding like when I'm coaching a person, understanding like, okay, let's get grounded first. So let's rebalance your chakras first, and then let's identify how is your day-to-day life. And the first thing I say, what is your goal with your grief? And I
Mm.
think that nobody talks about this. And I learned this in therapy. One is that we need to put boundaries around your grief. Didn't know that. So like you could say that I'm going to grieve. Like if sometimes you feel stuck or you plateau and you get numb. So you're not crying, you're not releasing, and you're not feeling all your emotions. Sometimes I learned this in therapy was you need to schedule from 3 to 4:30 on Saturday. I'm going to fall apart that day. And I'm going to do something that's going to trigger me to feel my emotions. That might be a sad movie, a sad song. It might be, I used to look at pictures and play music because I feel like I needed to connect and I needed to also a moment to remember him. And I needed to also like not be in, I didn't know at the time I had a dysregulated nervous system. So go, to run from your grief. It'll catch up with you, but it will be ugly when it does. So creating a time and boundary, like I'm going to fall apart. I'm giving myself permission to fall apart. A lot of people have great success with watching sad movies and bringing something in from the person that they're grieving. The also thing is like the goal. My goal in grief was not to fall apart when I remembered him or when I spoke about my dad. I wanted to feel like I could have a conversation and still be grounded in who I was and still live life. I didn't want to, because I had a perfect example of like how it shattered my mom every single time. She would avoid talking about the person, like her brother, her sister, her parents, like tears. And it's not that I didn't want to feel the emotion. And sometimes I do cry. But the thing is that the reality is my present time. I want to be happy. He would want me to be happy. So how do I live less triggered? So that was my goal. And every goal might be different for other people. I had that personal goal was very real for me because I had this polarizing experience with my mom. And I'm like, you're a mess. You need to be able to speak about them without like literally falling apart, being physically sick. And I didn't want to be like that. And grief is so different for everybody else. And that was just an experience in my life that was like, I don't want to be like that. I want to be able to be grounded and peaceful. And like, what does that look like? And I've had enough practice. I've had 10 years of practice. He's been past 10 years. So, I feel like I'm very comfortable with the stories. I'm very comfortable with our path, the way that we live and honor him. And, grief also comes up a lot in fertility. We have a lot of losses.
Very much so.
And yeah, grief for not just if you do have a miscarriage or a pregnancy loss, but also for abortions, failed fertility, cycles could be, negative pregnancy tests, or if you've like had a failed IUI, or if like the embryo didn't stick or take.
Yeah.
Or maybe you did a egg retrieval and maybe the embryos are not viable. And there's a lot of grief in fertility, and a lot of it's silent, right? So I think that whenever I share my story, and I'm very vulnerable and I'm very comfortable with it because I have shared it a lot, I hope it inspires someone to know that it's okay to feel your feelings, feel them the whole way through, and it's going to be messy. But the only way to the other side to get peace or to get boundaries around it or to be able to speak about it, if you choose to, you don't have to, is to feel your way through. And sometimes it's really hard. It's really messy, really scary. And all of that's okay too. But it's okay to grieve even the things that grief is not just for loss of people or souls. It's also for things that you want. I think it's really important to understand that too. So anything that you want to apply the goal or the boundaries with, it's okay to grieve the things that didn't work out for you.
This is such an important conversation. You're right. There's a ton of grieving as one is navigating through a fertility path, and it changes us. And I think, through the empathy, through having walked this path, I don't know all that you've gone through with loss as far as when you were trying to conceive. Could you share a little bit about what you experienced?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm very, very open, as we already know. In my 20s with a different partner, I got pregnant and I had an abortion. And it changed me. It changed a lot of how I lived, how I saw myself, how I dramatically changed my life from there. But I had decided when that happened, when I did choose to become pregnant and under the circumstances that I wanted,
Mhm.
um, that I would show up and be the person that that child deserved. It dramatically changed me. Um, and for me, I've never suffered a miscarriage. I have tormented and endured the aftermath of an abortion. Um, for me, my infertility journey was I was a newlywed. We weren't getting pregnant.
Mhm.
We had tried shortly after. I went to see my doctor. Nothing was wrong. And then
Mhm.
I was advised to go ahead and see a grief therapist. You're really sad. The grief therapist, I saw her regularly. So that's 2015.
Mhm.
And then fast forward to 2016. This is kind of like I say, if you don't pay attention to the signs that the universe is sending you, this is I call it my God smack.
Yeah.
God put me in a timeout. I fell off the last horse that I had. I had two horses. The first horse died in 2015. And then this horse, well, his name was Bucks Mosby, and he was a great horse for many other people, but it was kind of a dick to me. Like it was a love-hate relationship with this horse. Anyway, I loved him so much. And then anyway, I fell off of him. I found it in a ditch. He went right, I went left.
No.
Um, we were riding on a dirt road. It was not a good time. I was put on medical leave, and during that time, I could not drive, couldn't be on the phone, I couldn't be watching TV, I couldn't read, I couldn't focus my vision. I would get these really intense headaches, and my vision, my perception, I would miss the curb or I missed the step to get in the
Mm.
car because of the concussion I had gotten from the fall.
Wow.
And because my memory wasn't coming back, they would say these series of numbers and I couldn't say them. They say repeat them, but backwards. I couldn't. So my medical leave kept getting extended. Well, during that time, I was really desperate at that moment. I was like, if I don't get back on the horse right away, I'm never going to get back on.
Literally get back on the horse.
And they're like, you can't get back on the horse if you can't even lift your foot to get in the car, or like your vision is not. I can't
Mm.
even put my foot, like I would miss the curb all the way, like getting into the apartment. It was
Oh
bad.
my goodness. How long did this
Um,
go on for?
about 8 weeks.
Oh gosh.
And then I was my vision restored. And then I eventually I just got better, but I also got pregnant during that medical
Okay,
leave.
let's talk about that.
So
One
during that,
session.
I got one session, a one Reiki session, because I went to the metaphysical shop, the psychic that I was taking classes with and learning about spirit guides and pendulums. She's like, you don't need a crystal to heal your concussion. Your throat and your sacral plexus chakras are blocked. So your sacral plexus
Yep.
is your womb where your
Yep.
uterus and reproductive, and then your
Hmm.
throat is where there's a direct energetic pathway and
Yes.
energetic meridian between your throat and your womb. And
Hmm.
if you don't feel safe, you're probably not going to speak up. And it's 100% reason why both of those chakras were blocked.
That
That
is so
same
interesting.
week, my therapist said, you need to get on antidepressants or go get Reiki. And I said, wait a minute, two people in the same week who are unrelated and don't know about each other said for me to get Reiki. So I went to her Reiki therapist.
Had you even
He was
heard of Reiki before this?
no,
Okay.
no, no. I was like more on the spiritual side. I was learning about the spirit guides. I was learning about meditation. I was learning about realms, and I was
Hmm.
learning about like I was exploring what aliens meant to me, and then also battling with my Christianity and like don't do too much because that's really witchy and that's like a Ouija board. Don't do too much. And I went to the Reiki session, and the next month we were pregnant with Ollie,
Wow.
and he's 7 now. And in that Reiki session, it was the first time I could take a full breath. It was the first time I could take a full deep breath since my dad had died. And she didn't know my dad had died. And she's like, she could sense him there. And he showed up. It was the first time I had, because he would show up in my dreams. I would feel him, like I would feel his presence, and I would smell him. And that was when I learned about clair abilities when
Yeah.
you're doing mediumship. And I was like, because I can smell my dad, and I would tell the lady that I was like, I can freaking smell his body odor. And she's like, that's
Whoa.
a scent. I don't remember the name of it, but so
They're
I can,
sentient. They're sentient.
no,
Claire. No,
it's a
Claire.
different, it's one for your nose, but
Mm.
I think clear sentience is when you feel it. And then but there's like 5 different ones, but I could smell him, I could, and then I would feel him, like I would feel like coldness on my body and pressure,
Mm.
but only like specifically on the top of my thigh, my arm. um and I was like, wait a minute. And then he showed up as a blue orb in that room, and she goes, and she described him very specifically. Oh, he's very polite. He has a heavy accent. I'm like, this chick does not know anything about my dad. My dad was from Ecuador, Hispanic, deep, heavy accent. I was like, there was too many like evidential things,
Mm.
even though they may have been fragmented. And that's the thing about mediumship. It's like sometimes you can get a really long message, and that's really rare, but most of it's just symbols and fragments
Okay.
that are just like pieces that are will then inspire the full message from the receiver, like the client. So in that session, she worked a lot on my chest, she worked a lot on my womb, and I felt happy. I felt like I could breathe.
Mm.
And I was like, whatever this is, I want more of. I went on to get
Yeah.
Reiki during my pregnancy. She gave me
Yeah.
distance Reiki during my birth. Everyone went sideways in my birth. And then
Mm-hmm.
it is really what I consider to save my life in postpartum. I
Wow.
had, and this is where everything came out that's unhealed. And this is the cornerstone I'll die on, the hill I'll die on, is everything that was unhealed in me. The abortion, my sexual assault, my I was molested when I was 5. All of this came out in my postpartum because you're vulnerable. You're most vulnerable you'll ever be. I had a traumatic birth, and I remembered it every single day.
Mm.
And the things that were done in my birth, the NICU stay. I had
Mm.
so much that happened to me on top of my childhood trauma, on top of like things that happened to me in my 20s. And I was in a happy marriage.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then like just learning, like, if stuff happens to you and you don't have family around and people are not equipped to handle your trauma, or not trauma aware or trauma informed,
Mm-hmm.
people disappear. And you have to learn how to save yourself. And that's exactly what happened. I did talk therapy. We had a postpartum doula. We hired what was called a mommy's helper to come and do light chores. And I always had someone with me. I was never alone. Um, and it was like that for months.
Mm.
I didn't open the mail, but Reiki made me feel normal. And at
Yeah.
that time, I didn't know is what she was doing is like collecting all of my energy and putting it back in my body, because I was really scattered. And I was only okay if I was sitting on the couch next to my medical grade breast pump. I was
Mm.
triple feeding Ollie. I was committed to breastfeeding. And I would watch YouTube videos on baby wearing.
Mm.
And that's all I did in postpartum to cope. And with the talk therapy and the Reiki really was helping me remove trauma from my tissues so that I could relax enough to rest later. I could feel more like myself so I could function. And I increased sessions as I was going back to work because I stayed home with Ollie for 4 months. And I
Mm.
know how privileged that was, but it wasn't enough for me. And I was really angry for a long time that I didn't get more time. So the Reiki helped me heal that too. But the more I healed, it just allowed me to have more emotional availability
Mm.
to discover who I was now, not bounce back because I don't believe in that. I didn't want to go backwards because I was like, well, I've learned who are my true friends. I've
Mm.
learned who's my true family. I learned that I can survive this. And I
Mm.
learned that I'm a really good mom and I really like this life. And I'm not the same as I was before. I ended up quitting that job. I had a 2-week break before I started the new job, and I got Reiki
Mm.
attuned in June of 2017. And then I started my Omaha postpartum Reiki business the next year. serving moms in postpartum. And then I evolved from there, served in a chiropractor's office for a long time. And then I went fully online 1 month before COVID. And here we are. Now we serve from preconception all the way through postpartum, because healing is a relationship I recommend you have, just
Mm-hmm.
like you have a money relationship. And it's not a one-time event, but you shouldn't have to heal alone. That's why I created my membership. We have, a TikTok community.
Mm-hmm.
I have found greater success when I can see what other people are doing and hear conversations of what they're struggling with. Makes me feel more normal and that I'm not alone.
Oh, so much. So good. I mean, so Reiki, for people listening, let's kind of break it down a little bit.
Sure.
You and I understand it, and I've experienced it firsthand, and it's so powerful. So what in your words, how do you explain Reiki to people?
Reiki is the life force energy that is in your lungs and exists in your body that makes you alive. And what
Mm,
happens is the Reiki practitioner or the Reiki master will deliver the Reiki to you, but it's from Mother Earth, it's from the universe, source, God. It does not come from the practitioner. And what
yeah.
is given to you, the energy will go where it needs to because it already exists in your body. It is
Mm,
what is your body is designed to heal itself. So we're just giving it more of what it already has, and it's
mm,
a higher frequency than the things that are blocking you in your fertility. So anything that's unhealed, such as trauma, such as maybe a wound from when you were a child, all of that's going to
mm,
come to a surface in the Reiki session. So it's very
mm,
normal to fall asleep. You could cry, you could cough, you could yawn. You might close your eyes and see different colors. That's usually representative of the chakra that is being healed and the energy is moving through at that time.
mm,
Sometimes in Reiki, if there is like a significant energy blockage, a Reiki master can cut it out or cut cords.
mm.
That can sometimes feel like a little bit of pinch, but most of the time Reiki is very gentle, very feminine and flowing, and it shouldn't
Mm,
hurt. Reiki should always be given with your clothes on. I always say that. Like,
mhm.
there's a lot of like stories out there. Reiki is not a massage. Reiki is working with your energy and not
Yeah,
manipulating the muscles. It's really
right.
important to know. There are massage therapists that do Reiki, like the lady
Mm,
I saw and helped me, and I go see her once a quarter. She's a massage therapist and
mm,
Reiki master.
mhm.
So she does both of them.
Yeah.
Um, for Reiki can complement any medical treatment plan you're doing. It does not interfere with your medications, and also can be done with the faith and no faith. It does not um it does require consent. You have to consent, but anyone can learn Reiki, anyone can receive Reiki as long as they're consenting.
Yeah. Energy healing. This is where it's at. It's just it's being talked about more, I would say, on the fertility path, but this is an area that you and I both are so like-minded in the power of this energy healing medicine. And you're right. It's like anybody can receive it, can do it for themselves, learning these techniques and self-healing. And I've heard you talk before, you say like what you can't see, it can be felt. Like it,
Oh yes. I
so,
yeah. I that's not originally mine. I saw it and I was like, "Oh my God, that's so true." And like I believe that to my core.
yeah.
Like, and that is I haven't always been a person of faith, but like there's so much in the world that is invisible.
Yeah.
Um that can be felt. And that's the thing is with Reiki, you can't see it, but you can feel
Yeah.
it. You can
Yeah.
feel the difference. So I love when like when people who are a little bit skeptical, but they're 100% committed to trying it out and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, oh my God, that's I'm so much lighter. I feel energetically cleaner. I feel more like myself. I feel so relaxed. I
Mm,
feel I had this pain and it's gone. Reiki can literally remove pain from your body. So it promotes healing. It's 100% for stress reduction, which is what you need to conceive. Because a lot of the things that we are managing that we shouldn't be managing, storylines, negative narratives,
mm,
other people's energy, you
yeah.
don't have to be anyone's savior. They're going to figure it out. They can hire movers, You don't need to bake
Mhm.
the casserole if you're exhausted. Take care of you first, because you're the most important person in your fertility journey. You're going to be the most important person when in our relationship, when we
Yeah.
work together. You are queen bee. So is there any reason why we're putting people above you in your fertility? It's
Mm.
really just, I feel like that's so much, like so much can't be seen, but people who may not have faith or may not have that are skeptical, like, try it, get on my
Yeah.
table, join a
Yeah.
Zoom with me. I
Yeah.
promise you'll be different. There's no regrets ever in healing.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about alignment and getting ourselves in the most aligned, kind of calm, peaceful, safe. I'm glad you talked a lot about safety. That's
Mm.
so key in helping women conceive, feeling safe in their body.
It starts with creating a mind body connection, mind body spirit connection. And
Mm.
I always say start small.
Yeah.
Everything should be simple and basic. If not, then we're not going to do it. Eat when you're hungry, drink
Mm.
water when you're thirsty, sleep when
Yeah.
you're tired,
Yeah.
speak up when you're mad. And the more that you pee when you need to, that's a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Pee when you need to, take a poop when you need to poo.
Yeah.
Like, honor you and honor what your body's telling you, and and do that repetitively, and you'll see a huge change in how much you trust yourself and how much your body trusts you.
I'm glad we're
'Cause
talking about this. It's such a simple healing modality that if you're listening to this and you're at all bit curious, like seek a practitioner out. And both you and I do distant Reiki healing. And it's incredibly, there's so many gifts through it. I mean, the
so many.
intuition, the gifts through that come through listening, through getting quiet in our body. I'm so glad you're talking about like listen to your body. What is it calling for? I write about that in my book. I like a lot about that. It's just this fertility path, as you and I work with women who are very ambitious, go-getters, often type A, right? It's like there's so much of the doing, 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 doing. This is such a softening, a healing practice, a gift for yourself, right? To
Yeah.
slow things down, to slow things
I
down.
love that you mentioned type A, because it's a very common personality type that I encounter. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to touch upon that.
Yeah, let's do
Um,
it.
there's a lot of talk of like what's masculine, what's feminine, and to do, and to give is
Yeah.
masculine, and then to receive is feminine. I think that one, don't condemn yourself or shame yourself
Yeah.
for being a busy person or being productive or even being successful. There's nothing on that. 100% love all of that. However, there can be if you're all of those things and have a hard time resting, you are sitting, one, with a dysregulated nervous system,
Mhm.
and two, with your activated masculine side.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what we need to do is also activate your feminine,
Yeah.
because what has happened in life somewhere along the line is you got affirmed, and you also got compensated in some way with praise, money, job, whatever it was, for being an overachiever, or for being super productive, or you get rewarded because that is from society. That's a societal norm to reward for that. However, when we are conceiving, the most important lesson is, can we make you safe to receive?
Mhm. Yep.
So if you're go, and you don't know how to ask for help, and you don't know how to receive things, meaning like receive the help or even voice it, we need to look at that,
Yeah.
because something so small can change your entire being. It's okay to, I was in a masculine industry for years, but the thing is now is that, yeah, I can get shit done, but I also can wait for the better option, and I get to decide what I'm going to activate. And when I do take action, it's going to be aligned action
Yeah.
that feels
Yeah.
good in my gut, and I feel empowered by, and I'm like, my heart feels warm. That's a good way to know physically. Your body's never going to lie to you. It's a good way to know physically
Mm.
if this is an action I should be taking, or feels good to me, or is a soul decision. Check in with your body. And that's why the mind body
Mm.
connection is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
The more that you can get good at receiving,
Yeah.
I feel like it's the easier it's going to be for you to let go of the timeline for
Oh,
the
yeah.
waiting
Yeah.
for you to also make decisions, because also not all decisions have to be made right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wait because I can. I had to give myself permission for that. I'm just going to wait. I don't have to send that email right now. I don't have to make that decision right now. And sometimes waiting is the best decision.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting, and that's just not like waiting to get started, but sometimes I
The
have to
pause, the gift
wait,
of the pause,
the
right?
gift of the pause, because,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it takes more restraint and more energy to pause than to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you notice that when you are pausing, take that as a mile marker, or like sometimes we need validation of how far we've come. Congratulations, you're sitting in your feminine. And you need to be sitting in your feminine for your womb to be open.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so much of fertility in Western medicine is masculine. So if we can't, but they can exist together. So one is not better than the other, but they're
Mm.
needed for both. And
What
I
I love
think that
that. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
no, so sorry. I think that if you can receive and you can pause and then you can wait to see how you feel,
Yeah.
I think always a good cup of coffee, a good meal, a good sleep on a decision the next morning, things could look really different. So just wait it out.
Yeah. I was just going to mention about Reiki being this alternative healing. And oftentimes when we do less, like it's more. I see. No one can see
100%.
what you're doing. You're like, yes, girl, yes.
Yes, I'm drinking my cucumber water. I'm like, yes. I actually interviewed, I'm going to steal this girl named Tatiana Svalvik. And she is a Guatemalan, Colombian somatic experience healer.
Oh,
And I interviewed her last week. Her interview is coming out tomorrow. But she said something. She goes, the fastest way to heal is to slow down.
yeah, it's
And
true.
I was like, oh my God,
It's
that's
true.
so good.
And it's so counterintuitive. And like, the women I help going through IVF, it's like there's the testing, the procedures, the steps, the everything, and just you get on this rat race. And so by these kind of alternative ways to nurture ourselves, slow it
Right.
down. And uh, yeah, I'll keep talking
Sometimes
about
I
this
ask the
because
client, I was like, are you hell bent on doing back-to-back cycles? Can we take a pause?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I was like, ask your doctor if you can take a pause because your womb needs it. Your
Yeah.
womb is tired.
Right.
And I find I use Reiki to do womb clearings and
Mhm.
then womb blessings. The womb clearing to remove any residual energy or feelings to restore to our harmonious state. And then the womb blessing to raise the vibration of the womb. Because it's kind of like when you walk into a room, I think I told you this, was you can know when somebody's been arguing, you walk into it and you're like, that's not
Yeah.
good. Like, oh,
Yeah.
what's going on here? And don't lie
Yeah.
to me, but I can
Energy's
feel it.
felt.
Mm.
We can all feel energy.
So
Yeah.
whenever you've had a loss
Mm,
or a failed fertility attempt, I really want you to do a Reiki womb clearing and then a blessing,
mhm,
because and they don't have to be done in the same setting. And these can be done with meditations. There's some on my pod, and I think there's some on YouTube.
mhm,
Um, but that will allow you to make sure that your womb is ready to receive. That's just kind of like, not, I don't know if this is a great metaphor, but kind of like housekeeping. Like,
mm.
you're just like, we're gonna let go. It's no longer serving us. We're gonna let go of
Yeah.
all of this, honor it. We're not dismissing it. And then we're going to bring in some harmonizing energy. So
Mhm.
what baby is coming into
Yeah.
um is really welcoming and is really high frequency.
And I believe that too. It's like, what kind of environment do we want to create internally to welcome these little sweet souls in?
I
And
love
we're
them
always
so
in
much.
preparation mode. We're preparing to receive, preparing to conceive. It's like, I'd like to change it from the trying. Let's not keep trying to conceive. Let's prepare to conceive, right?
I like that a lot. That's
Mhm.
really, that's very
That energy.
strong. Yes.
Mhm. It's a
Because it's
different
like,
energy, right? Of
it's a
the like
different energy of
trying.
like trying and then kind of like still one foot in, one foot out. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I know you have a podcast, Make a Baby podcast, which we're doing a podcast swap. So thank you. I'm excited to be on your show too. yeah, this work that you're doing, that both of us are, involved in, and helping women really going about their fertility paths in a different way, really
Yeah.
soulfully, spiritually connected within. Why do you love this work so much?
Mm. I did it. I did it like it was not my side hustle because that demeans it, but I discovered it was my purpose. Like I discovered very firmly why I was created to be on earth, and this is
Mm,
it.
mm,
And it couldn't escape me. I am compulsively working on my business, meaning like I cannot not stop. I do take breaks, but of course I don't work on it all the time. But the thing is even like in the times I thought about quitting,
mm,
my soul didn't let me. Like this in my and I cannot not be this. This
mm,
is who I am. I believe this to my core of what I'm supposed to be doing. And I've lost friends over it. I've lost family over it.
mm.
Um, and I say, okay, I wish you the best. I will not falter.
But they don't
And
believe
that,
in what you're doing, or why? Can I ask?
oh yeah,
Really?
randomly too. My best friend of 15 years last summer, we went to visit her in her new home and to meet her son for the first time. And when we came home, she's like, she stopped talking to me.
Oh,
And I said, what's going on? We've been best friends for 15 years. You were in my wedding. I was your maid of honor or matron of honor. Like, this was not a random, this was
yeah.
like a soul sister. Um, and she's like, you're not the person that I thought you were. And I'm worried about your soul going to the depths of hell. And I said, okay, okay. And she's like,
Wow.
I cannot be friends with you anymore. And Reiki, she's always known about Reiki.
Because of
I've been
Reiki.
because of Reiki. And that's not
That's
the first. It's not
interesting.
the first. I've had people close to me send me random videos of like, people who say that their aliens took their soul from a Reiki session. And it was like a 2-hour YouTube video. And I said, when you're ready to have a equally respectful conversation about what Reiki really is and how Reiki has served me in my life, because I was quiet for so long and
Mm,
I was tiptoed. We have a lot of family and our circle was deeply conservative Christians. And we have deconstructed our faith a lot. But it also Reiki has healed me to say, like, yeah, I do believe in God. I also believe in other things too. And we live a pretty conservative life, meaning like I don't drink, don't go out. Like we're pretty simple, basic
yeah.
people, but I curse like a sailor and I believe in talking to dead people. And that doesn't jive because I am more than what's defined in the Bible or in their box. And
Mm,
that has really upset some people. I've always been super respectful. I am if
mm,
we are going to visit a person's home and I am aware of their religious stances, I don't bring it up. If they
mm,
ask me, say, yeah, the podcast ranked in Canada last week. It's doing really well. Thanks for asking. I am super respectful and I know how to maintain relationships and not feel like they are being, this is being forced upon them. I have found, and as that friend has left, I have gotten more friends that are more aligned and
yeah.
more alike. I don't believe in having friends that are just like you. Um, so yeah, Reiki has been
Mm,
definitely led me to my authentic self, my
yeah.
purpose, but also like it's not something I'm willing, this is not something that was an accident.
Mhm,
And I will never apologize for what I've overcome because none of those people have held my hand, even my best friend. Nobody has come and rushing to Omaha to when I was in postpartum to
mm,
help me breastfeed. Nobody was figuring it out with me at 3 a.m. when he was crying and I had mastitis. Like all I'm just
mm,
like knowing is like when I had those trauma or with my birth trauma,
mm,
nobody like most people told me to get over it. No, I don't have to get over it. Something horrific happened to me. He also was really sick when he
mm,
was born. These are things that stayed with me. And guess what? The one thing that what's carried me through is also what I am going to share with other women because
mm,
there is purpose in my pain. There was power when I
Mhm.
overcame it. And that is not a mistake.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things I've learned in church, how to pray, has not gone away. And when they say ask God and he ask, seek, find, I found it.
Mm-hmm.
My healing brought me closer to God, and being a follower of Christ, or I don't call myself a Christian, but you're supposed to be more Christ-like, which is compassion, kindness, forgiveness, empathy, inclusivity. That's what I believe in being a good person. And as a person that grew up the way that I did, I wasn't taught those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I have those things in my character. It is what we instill in our home. It is things that my son exhibits, because I healed enough to be different and also to break ancestral things and also generational patterns of abuse. Yes, I will die on this corner forever and ever because I am different and I'm the person that I'm meant to be because of it.
Yeah. I feel your passion and I feel you standing in your truth. And sometimes it's at the expense people drift away. I've experienced that in my life too.
I'd rather be alone
Mm.
than be with people that do not see who
Yeah.
I am. And if you say that you love me and you don't see the work that I'm doing and you don't see the progress or the healing I'm not the same person.
Yeah.
You can't say that I used to be a hurricane, literally Hurricane Carolina. Like I was go, go, go. And I was like wild. And through my 20s to I am fun and I'm quirky,
Yeah.
but I also am not like I'm not a mess. I am also not like wild. I'm a pretty calm person, you know? So like and that's because I love peace.
Yeah.
I love being peaceful. I love being here. I love being with my people. And there's something about peace that people don't talk about. It's different. It is a sense of security, but the peace is when you make it a priority, you own more of your energy, and you're also not willing to give away your time, your attention to things that are going to rob you of it.
Yes. Amen to that. Yeah.
And I think that once people really, really feel peace, not for a fleeting moment, but for an extended period of time, it changes them. That's also why I live in the Midwest. I don't get anxious when I drive to Target. It doesn't take me 2 hours to shop at Walmart. Like
Yeah.
in Miami, it does, where I'm originally from.
Yeah.
Or like I'm not scared to, take my kid to the park. I feel like it's safe here. And I love that peace and I love that stability. And I'm not willing to give it up. And I'm also not willing to give up my happiness for a person that has not done the work themselves and their pastor told them, or they read it in a BuzzFeed or whatever, instead of like, okay, you want to have a conversation about it? Or and if we do, you're just attacking me. Then that means you haven't done, like, what's your stance and why, based upon your life, and tell me, let's talk about it. I will listen. But not a single person that has said or tried to villainize me for this has ever been willing to have that conversation other than just to condemn me because I'm not doing what their church said. It's okay. You can keep your church.
Yeah.
I have mine.
Yeah. Thanks for keeping it real. Like,
Was that
what I
too
love
much?
about you. Like, we could keep this conversation going, like, for real.
Was
My
that too much? I'm
soul
sorry.
sister, the same birthday. So wild.
The Tauruses. That was a Taurus conversation.
We went deep. Yes. Oh my gosh. So good, girl. I will include all your links in the show notes.
Perfect.
And, you and I are both proof of like the power of Reiki. We've lived it firsthand. We've seen how it supported us on our fertility paths and beyond. It's like the gift that keeps giving.
Amen to that. I love that.
And yeah, such a joy to be connected with you. And I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Carolina. Bye.